Welcome to the Video Lab Live Show, your weekly interactive live show about video-specific marketing. And today I am joined by special guest expert Maddie Peschong, and we're going to be talking about Instagram video. Things like the types of videos you can post to Instagram, maybe some of the best practices for Instagram video, and can Instagram video actually grow your business, brand, or influence? I don't know. We're going to hear from Maddie here pretty soon. And towards the end of the episode, Maddie's going to bring her one thing to take away from this episode about Instagram video. And if you don't get anything else from this whole conversation, Maddie's one thing is something you're not going to want to miss. So make sure you stick around for that. Now, Maddie is a brand photographer, business coach, podcast host of Take It Personally podcast, owns White Space Photography Studio, and is absolutely killing it on Instagram, providing incredible value for her audience on that platform. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. So I cannot wait to have this conversation about Instagram video with Maddie today. And you know what? This live show is interactive, which means at any point you can jump into the comments or chat and bring your questions or your input to the show. And let's start getting that chat warmed up just a little bit. If you are joining live, make sure you jump into that chat. Just say hi, say hello. Hello, Caleb. Hello, Maddie. And let me know where you're watching from. Are you watching from Sioux Falls? Are you watching from anywhere else? Jump into the chat, say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Caleb, and I'm a video educator and content creator. I've been doing small-scale freelance video production since 2012 in and around Sioux Falls. I focus on social media video and website video for my clients. I also have a YouTube channel, which is just my name, and it's very niche camera content. And I work with filmmaking brands from around the world, making video content for them as well. And we have some people coming into the chat, and this is great. Katie, welcome to the live stream. Maddie has been my brand photographer for 3+ years. I love it.
I love Katie.
I love it. All right. Randy, Swisher, Iowa, welcome to the live stream. Oh, and Randy says this, and Caleb. Yep.
Hi, Randy.
I know who people are here for. Yeah, that's right. Katie's in Sioux Falls. April, welcome to the live stream. Northwest Iowa, welcome to the live stream. It's good to have you here. Now, I started this Video Lab live show as a weekly interactive live show, and it's streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And it's to help you harness the power of online video with video-specific marketing tips, tricks, and trends. And I really hope that this show brings some value to you and, provide some things that you can incorporate into your video workflow like right away. Now, again, if you're just joining us, I've got Instagram expert Maddie Peschong on the show today. And remember, this is an interactive live show. So make sure you are active in that chat or comments. Say hi, let me know where you're watching from. And maybe let's add this too. What's your biggest struggle right now that you face putting video on Instagram? So say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. And maybe what is your biggest struggle that you face right now putting video on Instagram? Now, I have to give this little disclaimer right now before we get into this conversation. These episodes are just to show some possibilities that you have with video, but doesn't necessarily mean everything's going to work like magic for you. It requires a ton of hard work and consistency and some strategy, and possibly even partnering with professionals like Maddie or myself to get the results that you hope for. But with that being said, how about you toss some heart emojis, maybe some heart hand emojis in the chat, and let's bring in Maddie. And this guest intro is sponsored by The Breaks Coffee. Hi, Maddie.
Hi.
How are you?
I like the heart hand
Yeah.
ode to Taylor Swift. I love that so much.
Heart hand emoji. I went to one of your breakout sessions at I Hate
Yes.
Marketing, and Taylor Swift was a big part of that breakout session.
Has to
So
be.
yeah, so I was like, maybe some heart hands or some heart emojis or something like that. Yeah. So how's your Monday?
It's great.
Yeah?
I've had a very productive Monday so far.
Nice.
I love Mondays like that.
Okay. Yeah. It's a good way to start the week.
It is. It is.
Start off strong.
That's right.
And then you can kind of coast through the rest.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah. I hear you. So, Maddie, tell us a little bit about everything that you do. Now, I listed some stuff,
Mhm.
but go into some depth on some of
Yeah.
those things. Brand
Awesome.
photographer. What is a brand photographer?
Yeah. So I've been a photographer for 10 years and
Okay.
a brand photographer for about 4.
Okay.
And what that means is I partner with large and small businesses. Sometimes it's solopreneurs, sometimes it's large corporations, and I work with them to create photos for their marketing.
Excellent.
So it's photos that they can use on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's photos they can use on their website,
Okay.
on billboards. But it's photos for their marketing. So
Yeah.
I made that pivot about 4 years ago. And it was really when all the stars aligned in
Oh,
my
yeah.
business.
Love it.
When I was doing weddings and portraits, I always liked it. But it wasn't, I could tell it wasn't what I was made to do. It
Yep.
wasn't like filling my cup in the way it was a lot of my friends.
Okay.
And when I realized I come from a marketing background,
Yeah.
digital and social. And so when I realized that there was this space called brand photography
Yeah.
and what I could be doing there,
Bing.
totally. I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, this is it 100%.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was a few years ago. And honestly, it has been just awesome ever since.
Yeah.
Like very few lows, a lot of highs. I get to work with really awesome clients.
Yep.
Some of them are actually a few of them are
Yeah.
on today, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
really fun. So I am based in Sioux Falls. I work with mostly local businesses or local solopreneurs,
Yep.
but I travel a little bit.
Okay.
We also, my husband and I co-own White Space Studio,
Yeah.
which is a space that we rent out to
Amazing.
creatives that they can
Yep.
collaborate and dream and design. In Sioux Falls, there's a lot of months of the year that
Yeah.
you can't really do what you want to do outside.
100%.
So
Like 12 months out of the year,
yeah,
almost.
pretty much 12 months out of the year.
If it's not
Yeah.
the wind, it's something else.
It's literally always something. So enter White Space.
Yeah. Love it.
And then I have a podcast called Take It Personally,
Yes.
which is all about personal branding, which is that is 100% how I grew
Yeah.
my business.
Yep.
And now it's what I teach.
Love it. Do you sleep at all?
Yeah, I do. So historically, no.
Yeah.
But I did. This is too much
Oh,
information. I did a hormone test earlier
okay.
this year
All
and
right.
was told that I need to sleep
Oh,
more.
okay.
So now it's a
All right.
priority.
It
Look
is
at that.
a priority. Well, okay. I love hearing this. Like I said, I went to your breakout session.
Yes.
Inspiration immediately, because this is
Thank
kind of
you.
like some of the direction like I want to go with the video lab,
Yeah.
like especially that education part, you're teaching like brand photographers, you're coaching them, things like that.
Yep.
So it was like, yes,
Yeah.
let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's great to have you on the show.
Yes.
Maddie, do you like coffee?
I'm obsessed.
Okay.
I've had 4 cups today.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Well, thanks to the Breaks for sponsoring this guest intro. We're drinking the Breaks coffee. We're drinking the Absolute Blend. I don't know where I put the bag. Yeah, here. I'm going to put this QR code up actually, Maddie. And you know what? The holidays are coming up. And this might be actually the perfect gift to send somebody. And you can purchase it right here with the breakscoffeeroasting.com. Use this QR code and order for somebody. Send it to somebody. This is my favorite blend from the Breaks.
We were talking about this before we went live, but I'm picky about black coffee because I don't put anything in it.
Yep.
And this is my favorite in town and beyond town too. Like
Great
it's
word.
just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I almost overflowed overfilled the basket for the coffee grounds, and it was almost disastrous.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
It would have been so bad. But we only have, a few little coffee grounds in our coffee. It's not too bad. I caught it just in time. So we're drinking the Absolute Blend. Thank you, Breaks, for being the guest intro sponsor. And thank you for letting us drink the coffee throughout this whole episode, which we're going to talk about Instagram video. Maddie, are you ready for this?
I'm so ready.
Okay. I did see a couple things coming in the chat. So Randy did put this in. Biggest struggle. Feeling defeated when I spend time on a video reel that doesn't seem to reach many people.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. Have you ever experienced that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Daily?
Yeah.
For
daily.
sure, weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like whenever you spend a lot of time on something is when it really doesn't do well. And then you'll just throw something up and it goes viral.
Yeah.
That's fun.
No, it's the same way for me. Like if I'm making this YouTube video, like I spend a lot of time, making sure all the details are right, getting some nice shots, things like that. But but then it's like, a 10 out of 10 on the analytics, it's like just doesn't perform the way that is frustrating.
It's really frustrating.
Do you have any words for anybody who like is struggling with that?
Yeah. The biggest thing is Instagram is a long game.
Yeah.
So it is, you are not alone if you're struggling with feeling like I'm putting out all this content and it's consistently not doing very well. The key is, I think, the hardest part, which is to keep coming back and keep reiterating. We're going to talk about this later on, but there are some things that you can kind of think about when you're going to create content that can help. But really, if you treat it like a playground and just experiment and see what works and see what doesn't, and just continue iterating and tweaking, that's the best thing that you can do. And I know that advice sounds like, oh, of course, but the hardest part is continuing to do it when you're like, that got 5 views. But you got to keep doing it.
Keep going. Like we were talking before the show, like it's a game.
It's a game.
Like have fun with it. Right.
It's more of an art than a science. Like I don't care what anybody says. It is more of an art than a science. Like it's just, you never know what you're going to get.
Right. That is true. Yeah. So we have Kara.
Yes, Kara. That's another client of mine.
Hey,
you
Maddie.
guys are repping the chat.
Love this. Love it. Keep jumping in. If you have any questions about Instagram video, toss those into the chat. And if you're just joining us, we have Maddie Peschong on the show, and we're talking about Instagram video and can it really help grow your business? And when it comes down to it, can it help grow your business? And if you have any questions, make sure you say hi. First of all, say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. And then if there's any struggles that you have posting, videos to Instagram. And then if you have any other questions, let's get that chat going and jump right in there. Let's define this platform a little bit of Instagram. Like what is Instagram?
Yeah. So Instagram started as a photo sharing app. That was the priority. And I'm sure if you think back, I mean, I know what my very first post was in my college in the Mac lab. I took a photo of, it was like a jar of peanut butter and a box of crackers.
This is great.
From Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
I don't even think there was a caption. It was just a photo. It was a Valencia filter always.
Yes.
And that was it. And so that's how it started. It started as a photo sharing app, kind of where Facebook was, if you remember, Facebook was purely text. They eventually added the photo capability, but it was text for a long time. So Instagram was kind of the response to that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it's obviously evolved a ton over the years. Because Instagram has responded to other social platforms and started incorporating more video.
Now, what are some, like, when we think about Instagram, like, what are the strengths of being on Instagram? Like,
so Instagram is highly visual.
Okay.
So I work with a lot of photographers. You're a videographer. Like our people, that's your platform.
Yeah.
Because it is such a visual platform. So if you have a visual business as a photographer, as a videographer, that's probably going to be the place where you want to play.
Love it.
I also think that Instagram is really unique because there's a part of Instagram that's a bit more polished and curated.
Okay.
And a part of Instagram that's a bit more raw and in the moment. And I'm specifically talking about like your Instagram feed versus Instagram stories.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that that's a really unique thing that Instagram has. I think TikTok is a great platform, but you tend to get a lot more of the raw.
Right.
And I like Instagram because of the duality.
Yeah, it's kind of a balance in there. So like what you're saying about the stories, like we have an event, like I work with this camera company. We have an event coming up in California next week. Oh yeah. Oh shoot, it's next week. And part of the requirements is the stories, and that's like behind the scenes type stuff, like everyday type things.
Yep.
But then also part of the requirements is now we have like these polished videos that we need to put together and stuff too. And that's a great example of like the balance.
Yeah. And I like that because it takes both of those to run a business. Like you need that curated digital front door, but you also, in my opinion, need people to see that you're a human being.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
You get both with Instagram.
Yeah, excellent. Now, when you think about Instagram and the audience on there, like what is it? Is it kind of like, see, I'm coming from the YouTube world, right?
Yep.
So like the YouTube kind of like finds an audience for your video. You know what I mean? So it kind of like the algorithm kind of works and then finds that audience for your videos. Can you kind of explain like maybe how the audience part works on Instagram?
So similarly, where you're working with an algorithm that's going to help serve your videos to the proper audience. In my opinion, I think the Instagram algorithm is maybe a little bit weaker than YouTube and TikTok. Like I think TikTok is like the creme de la creme of algorithms. Like it's creepy.
Yeah. Well, the amount of like virality
yes.
on TikTok is really high.
Right. Yep. And I think YouTube does a really good job with finding the right audience. Instagram has that to an extent.
Yeah.
When you're talking about like who's on Instagram, it's a lot of millennials.
Yep.
But it also kind of runs the gamut where you're getting some boomers and you're getting some Gen X.
Okay.
And you're also getting Gen Z.
Yeah.
So it kind of is a little bit of everybody, but certainly if you have a millennial audience, specifically millennial women, they're on Instagram.
It's there. Okay. We have Holly who jumped into the chat. Holly, thanks for jumping in from Austin, Texas. Love it. How do I make my content stand out? Now, this is kind of a loaded question. I mean, there's a lot to it. Maybe some examples of like.
So this is a little bit what I was alluding to earlier as you kind of continue to refine your content. The best exercise is to understand who your ideal client is backwards and forwards. The more that you understand that person, and hopefully it's one person, because it's going to be a lot easier if you're talking to one specific avatar or whatever you want to call it. But the more that you can understand who they are, the questions that they have, the struggles that they have, the things that they're thinking, the better you can create content for them.
Excellent. That's so well spoken. I love it.
It's the kind of work that feels tedious and almost a little bit pointless because it's literally you sitting at your desk and being like, who is my ideal client? You know, it's like that kind of boring work. But when I started focusing on that, my content changed.
Love it. Now, if you are just joining us, we have Maddie Peschong on, an Instagram expert, and we're talking about Instagram video and how it can grow your business. Before we go any further, Maddie, I just want to pop this up on the screen. And this is the Video Lab Video Playbook. It's a little free digital guide for you to download if you are looking for a starting point on making your own video content. So if you are thinking about making your own video content, go download this video playbook and it will help kind of get you headed in the right direction. So like we have things about like getting started with video production to something like maybe this might be down the road, collaborating with influencers and partners with your video content. So if you are looking at getting started with making your own video content, maybe you just need a little bit of help, go download this. The link is in the description of whatever platform you're watching on. The link is in the description. Go download. It's free. Use it however you want, and it's for you. All right, Maddie, let's keep going on this. I need to figure out where my mouse is too. Oh my goodness.
That's the worst with multiple monitors.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, where? Okay, is it over here? Oh, I don't know where it's at. We have Andrew who jumped into the chat as well. I need to get this off the screen too. Maddie, I'm struggling here. Oh, there we go. Andrew jumped into the chat saying hi from South Africa.
Hi, Andrew.
Andrew, thanks for jumping in the chat from LinkedIn. Andrew is from LinkedIn.
Nice.
All right. And we have Holly from YouTube. Here we go. Holly.
Yay.
From
Hi,
YouTube.
Holly.
And you said thank you. Holly says thank you. And that must be in reference to the download. You're welcome, Holly. Hope that.
Oh, we answered Holly's question.
Yeah, Holly's question. That's right.
Holly was wondering about content.
Yes.
You're so welcome.
You are welcome, Holly. Okay, so we are talking about Instagram video. We talked about the platform a little bit and kind of the structure. Let's talk about maybe some best practices. Actually, I'm going to take that back. Let's talk about the types of videos that you can actually put on Instagram. That might be a better route to go before we get into some of those best practices. So let's kind of go through some of those types of videos that you can actually post to that platform.
Okay. So let's start with lowest barrier to entry. So when you log on to to Instagram, your eye is going to go pretty immediately, if you're following people, which you probably are, to Instagram stories. Those are the little bubbles at the top of your screen. It'll have like an outline around a profile photo. And that means that someone has updated their story. So like their kind of in the moment video in the last 24 hours. I think this was originally a response to Snapchat. I think this was pre-TikTok. But essentially it's a video that expires after 24 hours unless you save it to a highlight, which is something you can do. Very low barrier to entry and very low production value. So if people are just getting started with video, excellent place to start.
Nice.
Also a really great way to build rapport with your audience without having to do a whole lot. So that's in the moment. What are you doing today? What's happening?
Love that.
Reels are probably your medium to highest production value, depending on how you do them. Reels were the response to TikTok. So if you know what the TikTok platform is, Reels is Instagram's version.
I try to avoid TikTok, honestly.
That's fine. It's a black hole. Sometimes a very fun black hole.
Yeah. You can definitely get lost in there.
Yeah. So this was the response to TikTok. So I think they started as 30-second videos. Now I think you can go up to 90 seconds, maybe even more than that. So those are a little bit more produced. There's an entire feed on Instagram that's just Reels, but then Reels also appear in the main feed, which just is as you're scrolling. So it's another piece of content. If you know, a photo post, an Instagram Reel, different pieces of content. You can also post video as a post. So if you have I think of for my photography studio, we have a video walkthrough. So we posted that as a post. It can be a little bit longer and just as a post.
Like square or horizontal or something. It doesn't have to be that vertical.
Doesn't have to be vertical. That's another big differentiator. Instagram Reels are vertical video, and so are stories.
Excellent. Okay, so now we have the types of video. One thing I will add to that is the live version too. Like you are able to go live on that platform, which is really interesting to me. I've done some live, I've been on other shows for the live stream on Instagram, and it was so chaotic. I'm not gonna lie.
It is chaotic.
It was the chat was just going so fast. You couldn't even read anything. It was interesting, but I think it's a great tool to have on that platform.
Well, and my only gripe with it is the last time I checked, the chat doesn't save. So you can save a live as a post or as a, whatever. A post. But the chat doesn't save, which is a bummer. But yes, it is a great tool for sure.
Excellent. Okay. Andrew asked this question, and I do remember this, Andrew. You posed this question on LinkedIn. I know it's a question far from Insta, but intent on putting, you know what? I did actually respond to that on LinkedIn there, Andrew. And yes, I believe 100% in raw videos and just providing value with your video content. Whatever platform that is, definitely provide some value in your video content. Thanks, Andrew, for the question and jumping in the chat. If you have any questions about Instagram video, toss those into the chat, and Maddie and I will jump into that question, and hopefully it helps. I don't know, maybe. Okay, so we talked about the types of video. Now let's get into the best practices part of it. And I think there's a lot of things that we don't realize when it comes to Instagram video on some of those best practices. Let's start with maybe just a story. Since we kind of went that way. We talked a little bit about maybe some behind the scenes type things, everyday type things. What are some things that we should be doing on those stories to maybe increase engagement or make people want to watch them, honestly?
Yes. If you can work your way up to simply talking to the camera, showing your face and talking to that forward-facing camera, you're going to find that you get better engagement when you do that. So that's something that you can work your way up to. Now, if you're like, that is really scary, I'm not quite there yet, there's a lot of other ways that you can use Instagram stories without jumping right to that. You can post a static photo to stories, which is cool. So if you've got brand photos and you're like, you know what, I'm wearing makeup, I like that, let's do that, you can post that. And then maybe you're the to-do list you're working on that day, or the clients that you're working with that day, whatever it might be. I tell people to treat Instagram stories like your reality show. So if it doesn't match the service that you are offering, if you're not constantly talking about your business, that's actually okay.
So it's all right to get into life a little bit on that.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be product, service. I'll do this for you or whatever. Now, is there, have you noticed anything with your stories as far as how much you post Like, is there?
Yeah. I heard this years ago.
Yep.
I always shoot for dashes, not dots.
Okay.
If you look at the top of, if you're looking at Instagram stories and you look at the top, there are either dashes or dots, and that signifies how many stories there are. And you want to have dashes, not dots.
So not too many.
Not too many.
Yeah, you don't want to just go all out like every hour, probably.
Right.
But
yep. And I think there's an exception for every rule. There are probably creators who do that and it works great. But in general, I'm going for dashes, not dots.
Okay.
I'm also trying to show up daily. That does not mean I'm always talking to the camera daily.
Right.
I love sharing a funny meme or resharing old content or another creator's content or content that I posted to my feed. It does not have to be a production every day.
Gotcha. Okay. I love that. Stories. All right. Stories. Now, let's talk about I want to save Reels for the last because I feel like Reels is kind of like
it's the thing.
Thing right now. So how about just like a regular like video as a post on Instagram feed? Do you have any suggestions as far as like, some best practices for that?
So if you can make it so I'm trying to think with photo posts if this is a thing, but you want to make sure that as much as you can, the video takes up the full screen.
Yeah.
So can you post a horizontal video or a square video to a post?
Yep.
Yes, you absolutely can. But the more that you can fill the full screen, the better. So sometimes you can do the vertical video, but it's not the full screen. Like
it's almost like it's almost like a 5:3 ratio or something like that.
Yeah. So if you can do that, that's great.
Yep.
I also would say don't abuse posting video to the feed, to a post, because Instagram and any other social media platform is a quick platform. Our attention spans have gotten really short.
Oh yeah.
So if you have a 5-minute culture video, I mean, you can try to post it, but people are probably not going to watch the full thing. That might be a better fit for your website. Maybe you could cut it down into shorter pieces of content for the feed.
Yeah. And I think like it's a lot of those platforms now are scroll platforms.
100%.
Just going like that. I mean, if you can stop that scroll.
Yep, that's
fantastic.
The goal.
Yeah.
But you're probably not going to stop it for over 60 seconds.
Exactly.
So you don't need to try.
And like you said, a culture style video or something, definitely great for a website. Maybe not great for your Instagram feed, but it might work. I mean, it might be fine to have it on there and things like that.
Yep.
Okay, now I do want to get into the Reels section because I think this is the real direction that Instagram is going, and this is that thumb scrolling thing. Now, as we think about Reels, what are some best practices that we should be thinking about?
Yeah. So you mentioned
there's a lot, I think.
Yes, there's so many. You mentioned before we went live that with YouTube, thumbnails are like a huge part of your success, right? That's really not the case when it comes to Reels. Now, they did in the past couple of years change it so you can upload a separate thumbnail. Right. So if there's not like a clip of the video that you want to use as a thumbnail, that's fine. So what I always tell people is if you have a business that is or needs to be more aesthetic, like a photographer, a videographer, then taking the time to upload a thumbnail, even if it's just a static photo, no text or anything, would probably benefit you because your feed is going to look nicer.
Yeah, interesting.
I see a lot of people paralyzed by that, like thinking that their feed has to look perfect all the time, and so then they don't post.
Right.
I would rather have you post and have a slightly chaotic feed than not post.
You must have looked at my Instagram feed.
I no.
Because that's definitely mine right there.
A little chaos is fine.
Yeah,
it really is.
Totally.
There are so few people who are going to our feeds and like really analyzing it.
Yep.
So if that's stopping you, try and talk to that voice in your head.
Yeah. So I think like one of the things I've noticed about your feed is like a lot of times you do have text on that thumbnail part. And that's almost like an intro into that video.
Yes.
Can you explain your thoughts behind that?
Yeah. So in that case, I am kind of thinking about, okay, if somebody does come to my account, to my page, and they're just scrolling and essentially like maybe one of my pieces of content came up in their Discover feed. So they're not following me and they're essentially trying to decide, should I follow her?
Yeah.
I want to make it really easy for them to make that decision. Either it's a yes or it's a no.
Yeah.
And so by pulling out some copy like that, it makes it clear what my content is about without them having to watch reel after reel.
Now, do you upload that separately apart from your reel?
Yes.
Okay. So you put a totally separate thumbnail up there.
Typically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because that's one of the things I like about, some of the newer features on Instagram is like you can either pick a clip from that actual reel. Yeah, that's kind of nice. Or you have that option to upload directly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we were talking a little bit before the show about like all the native tools that you are given. And I think this kind of plays into the whole reels thing because I think a lot of those tools come into making reels.
Yes.
And I think it's a big deal. Like some of those edit tools that you have for reels and everything. How much do you take advantage of some of those?
I try to take advantage a lot.
Yeah.
And the Reels editor has gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
It is far from perfect.
Right.
It's far from perfect. But actually in the past, I've used an app called InShot to edit video and it's a subscription. And I just this morning got, it's going to renew. And I told my husband, cause he got the email, I was like, you can actually cancel that because the Instagram app has gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Instagram is smart. And so as people are using apps that are not native or features that are not native to the Instagram platform, they take notice and they do start to incorporate some of those things. So the editor has gotten better. The ability to add music or background sounds has gotten better. They have a captioning tool now. They haven't always. There's, you can upload thumbnails. And so as Instagram adds those native things, take advantage of them because it's going to promote that content.
Yeah, because a lot of times, like as we talk more about reels, and I'm just going to toss a couple of these up here real quick. Randy, we were talking about getting paralyzed on that.
Paralyzed.
Yep.
I know.
And,
it's okay.
Yeah, totally fine. And Courtney. Yep.
Yeah. Me too.
We relate. Yeah.
I just finished a really big launch and have kind of gone silent since then. And I also think that that's something that you have to be in tune with yourself because there is such a thing as social media burnout.
Oh,
and
100%.
Unplugging once in a while is perfectly
Absolutely.
fine. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're talking a little bit about, some of the best practices about reels specifically. And you mentioned captions.
Yeah, let's talk about
captions. Now, I have a feeling that you could just like take the rest of the show and just talk about captions. So why are captions important?
Okay. There is an insane statistic that's like 87% of people watch videos with the sound turned off.
Yep.
So if you don't have captions, you are alienating 87% of people. So that from a business perspective, if you're using Instagram to get your messaging out to talk about your business, that's just stupid.
Yeah.
Like you have got to take advantage of that tool. But also from like a human standpoint, the captions exist for a reason. They are a huge accessibility tool. And if we're not using them, it's just like saying that that piece of the population doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So you have got to be using captions on everything.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to do, and I haven't done this as much lately, but I like to do captions because they're auto-generated.
Yes.
And then I also like a little summary that I type out.
Gotcha.
I don't like the excuse of like captions aren't working today. Then get ready for a thumb workout.
Because
it is absolutely ridiculous to not be using captions in 2023.
Yeah. No, 100%. Now, I break this show down into reels, cut it down, make that into reels. And the program that I use actually puts captions on there for me.
Yes.
But one of the things I haven't done, and I want your input on this, I think would be very interesting to kind of test this is, so I have those captions that are kind of burnt into the video already.
Yep.
All right. Do you think I should be putting like native captions on that as well? Maybe like hide it behind a sticker or something like that?
I don't know if you hit it, if it would matter.
Okay.
I wonder if Instagram would still pick up on it.
Yeah.
I feel like the answer might be yes.
Yeah.
Because they're smart.
Yep.
I also have a program that if I'm creating like more, like if I'm pulling stuff from my podcast, so more produced content, I will have captions on there and then I'll upload. And for me, it's just kind of like, I can't win them all. Like this particular reel is not going to have native captions. It's still captioned. But Instagram might dock it a little bit because it's not native, and that's fine.
Okay. I'm going to test that actually.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to test it because like it has the words that pop up.
Yep.
burnt into the video. I want to test putting the actual captions, like native captions on there, because the algorithms, like YouTube especially, like the algorithm takes into account what you actually say in the video as well, not just what you type up in the description. And I'm wondering if like having that written text, it obviously is recognizing it, but like, would that help with some of that reach? I would be
so curious.
Yeah, I'm going to test that out this week for this. Keep us posted. Yeah, I definitely will. I'll jump back into the chat. My focus is totally leaving me. Okay, we're back.
I love this question.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to bring up Courtney. Thanks, Courtney, again for jumping in the chat. I'd love to know how you'd find inspiration to making reels.
Okay.
And videos.
I love this question.
Love it.
So step one, and I'm so sorry because it's the same advice I gave earlier, is you really have to know your client or your customer really, really well. That has to be step one. So you've got some work to do there, right? However, once you're at a place where you're like, okay, I know who this person is. Like I understand what their problems are and their questions and all of those things. Then my favorite thing to do is, okay, backing up even a little bit more.
Yep.
I make sure that I am not just following people in my industry.
Oh, yeah.
I hear from a lot of people, especially women on Instagram, that they have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I find that a lot of that is because they are following people who do things similar to what they do.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy.
Right.
Like that. There's no other time in history where we've had this much access to our competitors. Like that doesn't make you feel good. So I have a pretty curated following list. I mean, I follow a lot of people. Of not just photographers. I love following dietitians, home builders, artists, people who are not just photographers. And then I will just scroll through Instagram and see what kind of trends people are creating videos with. And try and break down the trend. This has actually gotten easier because there are a lot of people, this is ironic, but there are a lot of people creating content to help people create content.
Yeah.
And so
there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that. And so you find a lot of reels that are like, use this hook and you know, that type of thing. And so then my job is to look at that piece of content and say, how could I tweak this for people who need a brand session or photographers who want to pivot into branding.
Love it.
So that's what I like to do. And then that also makes it so you're not blatantly copying someone. Because someone might create a reel about, and they're a home builder. And so I can kind of copy that same format for my photography business.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so great. I think, as far when it comes to like finding that inspiration too, like even just answering frequently asked questions.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like I'm sure, Courtney, you get a lot of questions of maybe of what you do, your business and things like that. Answering all those. I love it.
Absolutely.
It's like, I do the same thing with YouTube, is like find inspiration in different places.
Yeah.
We were, when we had coffee the other day, we talked about this book called Steal Like an Artist.
Yes.
It's like we're drawing all of these inspiration from different places. And I love the idea of like not just following your industry.
I think that's really key.
Yeah, absolutely. Like follow like a bunch of different realms. And you can draw inspiration from that. I love that. That's a great word. All right, let's see here. We're talking about reels. That was a great question, Courtney. Thanks so much for doing. We're talking about reels, and we're talking about some of the best practices. And the reason we're spending so much time on the reels is because it's like such a big deal.
Yeah.
And we talked about captions. We talked about some of the posting options, but like, how about optimizing it for the best viewing experience on mobile? Because Instagram's primarily a mobile platform.
Yep.
And you want to have your video take up the most real estate
exactly
on that screen.
Yep.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So vertical video is going to be key here.
Yep.
So if you have a video that you shot horizontally, making sure that it's cropped vertically. So I do this with my podcast.
Yep.
I'm being recorded on a webcam.
Yeah.
And then I use an app called Descript to make bite-sized content.
Love it.
And I can set it up so it has me cropped vertically. Another option, and I don't know how you would do this, you probably would, you could actually record vertically. I guess I do that with if I have my big girl camera.
Yeah. Totally.
I'll record vertically.
Yep.
So that's another option.
Yeah.
You can also, like, again, with a podcast, like you can see both of us here. You could stack that on top of each other. So that's another option. But yes, making sure that you're taking up as much of that vertical real estate as possible. If you're a photographer, for example, you don't want to showcase horizontal images and have black space on either side in a reel. Like have it take up the full screen, choose another image, go for vertical.
And even if it's cropped and looks a little janky, I almost feel like that is more important than having it framed up right. You know, and you see those videos all the time, like somebody's half face on the screen. You know what I mean?
Yes, totally.
It's like optimize it for that vertical viewing experience on mobile.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you're interested in this, more about vertical video, the episode next week, I'm going to have Justin Point from Cannonball Digital on here. We're actually the whole episode is just going to be about vertical video.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So like the importance of like some of the, you know, like Facebook ads kind of like, like pushing that, because if you put like a regular size, like horizontal video on there, there's actually like top and bottom, like blurred out. So
I have an ad running right now and it's vertical video.
Yeah. So they're actually like pushing vertical style video because mobile viewing is so high. You know what I mean? So optimizing your videos for the vertical experience. That whole episode next week is going to be about vertical video.
Yay.
Courtney jumps in again. I'm going to pop this up. Do you feel the days of overly edited, flashy transition reels are over? This is a really interesting question, especially coming from my background in the video world is like, oh yeah, you gotta have awesome transitions and stuff, or still something to strive for. Is it over or still something to strive for?
This was in the beginning of the semi beginning of reels, like when it wasn't quite such a novelty, there were more people that were starting to use reels. And so it was becoming a little bit more saturated. You definitely saw that the flashy and over edited and like transition videos did really, really well. That was what went viral. That's not as much the case anymore. And when specifically your question, is it still something to strive for? No. What you want to strive for is that content that speaks to one individual. That's the content that does really well.
Yeah. That high value, like just bringing value to somebody. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay. Let's see. Where are we at time-wise? Okay. We're still doing all right.
Are we? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Like
we're
I
still
still
doing
have so much to say.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It goes so fast. This hour goes so fast. Okay. So we're talking about some best practices. Is there anything else that you can think of as far as best practices go? Yeah.
So editing is really key.
Okay.
Obviously stories are going to be a little bit more in the moment. But if you're creating a reel and it has multiple like clips to it, editing is really key, especially if you are speaking. This is one of the quickest ways to lose people. We talked about this at coffee the other day. There's a phrase called the millennial pause.
Oh yeah.
We millennials do this. we start recording and then we like look at the camera and then we go. And it's literally a second. It's a pause, but it is, once you know, you can't unsee it. Like you're going to open up Instagram and be like, oh my God.
There it is.
It's so easy to pick out. And so editing that, it's the easiest thing to edit. This
just
actually,
trim it a little bit.
Just trim it. And you can do that natively in Instagram now. So just trim it. If you're on something like stories, start speaking as soon as you hit record. Don't wait. Just start immediately.
Interesting. I think that kind of brings up another topic on some of like the actual video structure. And we probably could go a whole nother hour on just video structure. We're not going to do that, but you know, things like hooks, right? Are huge right now on like, almost like you have 3 seconds maybe to kind of capture somebody and keep them on that video. So like that thumbnail, that hook, you know, what a question maybe that kind of hooks them into the rest of that video. Do you have anything that you do personally that kind of helps that retention rate a little bit?
So something that you're seeing a lot more of right now is B-roll video. So it's like background video. It's not where you're talking to the camera. So for me, it's like if I'm shooting a session, like behind the scenes footage. So it's a fairly short clip of that. And then you'll see text on the screen and it'll be like 3 things I never do as a brand photographer. And then it'll wait a second and then go more in the caption. I don't love this format just for myself, but it does really well.
Yeah, right.
And I did use this format in a couple reels during a launch. And I think it was one of them that ended up going viral. So I was like, okay.
Love it. Yeah.
It's doing well.
It's like, oh, I better do it. I better keep doubling down on that type of thing. Yeah.
But it is easier. It used to be the flashy transitions or the speaking to the camera. Now, as a photographer, I have someone come with me to a session, get a couple B-roll clips, and like, that's my content. So again, barrier to entry is a little lower, which is nice.
Yeah, that's nice. Andrew asks, we were talking a little bit about this. What open source software would you suggest for an absolute newbie in the video realm to edit? Do you have any recommendations? Thanks to Andrew.
So if you're talking about like social media video, InShot is a really great one that I do recommend. However, the Instagram app has gotten better. It is not perfect.
Right.
And it will glitch. And like my biggest thing with the Instagram editor is make sure that you are saving as you go, like a ton.
Oh my gosh.
Because it'll just crash randomly.
Yeah.
That happens less and less, but it does happen. But InShot is great. But honestly, the Instagram editor is not terrible.
Yeah. CapCut is one that I highly recommend. CapCut. There's templates on there that you can use. There's actually a prompter on there that you can use as well. Within the free version.
Oh my gosh.
So there's a pro version, a free version. You can actually type out your script and then have it, just face it.
So handy.
Yeah, like face, put your selfie style, right? And then it reads through your script, or it scrolls through your script and you can just read it.
Oh,
just
that's
like that.
Cool.
Yeah. And it has some other AI features and things like that that come in really handy. CapCut is the one that I typically recommend for people as well, but InShot's great.
Yep.
Honestly, TikTok, the editor on TikTok is so good.
One time, in the pandemic, it was a long time ago.
Yep.
I was trying to teach myself TikTok. I told you about this, and I ended up on the phone or texting my at the time 17-year-old nieces because I could not figure out the TikTok editor.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's gotten so much better, but I'm just like, no,
not going there. Yeah.
But I believe you.
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple different open source programs, and CapCut even has a web-based editor as well.
Oh, really cool.
So you could edit from your web browser, or download a program to your computer. Otherwise it's mobile as well. So
my favorite platform right now that is okay for mobile, but I like it for I like it for taking long form content and making it more bite size is Descript.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard of this?
I haven't heard of Descript. No.
Okay, so
is it AI based?
It's AI based.
Yes.
So it essentially turns a text editor into a video editor. Love it. As you delete words, it edits the video. Awesome.
Yeah. And the AI editor that I use is Opus Clip.
Okay.
So I'll upload this whole video and it'll give me like 20 reels.
Just automatically?
Yes.
Shut up.
No, it's amazing.
Okay,
I'm an affiliate. Do you want an affiliate link?
A little.
Yeah. So I just
That's killer.
I actually just take the YouTube link, right? And I just put it in there.
Yeah.
And it cuts it all up.
I've seen your reels. They're great.
Like and those are all AI. Yeah. So I'm going to actually have a workshop, my AI workflow workshop coming up. So in November. So make sure you stay tuned to that.
Cool.
Make sure you follow the page or follow the Facebook page or follow me on LinkedIn or whatever. And I'll have that event coming up, but it's my whole AI workflow. So if you want an AI workflow, come to that workshop.
Love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It puts all the captions on, gives me a viral score as well. So it's like this part has a good hook.
Okay,
so
I'm mad, but I haven't heard of this.
Yeah, Opus Clip. I'll bring it up.
I love it.
I'll bring it up. Later, I'll put it into the comments of these videos. Opus Clip,
Sweet.
My affiliate link.
Get that coin.
Yeah. Not sponsored. Okay. Now we are actually now running out of time.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I do want to touch on one thing before. No, not your one thing yet, but one thing before your one thing.
Okay.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the analytics side of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are there, and this can be just a very broad overview of some of the analytics, but are there things that we should be watching for when it comes to like how our videos or reels are performing, like, it's got to be more than just views.
Yeah, 100%. So honestly, I am not a huge analytics girly. For as much as I look to Instagram as a business tool, I'm not focused on a ton of the analytics. There are some that I'll mention. But what I'm mostly looking for are, what are the conversations that are happening?
So love that.
Like, what are people saying about that content? What are the comments?
Yes.
What are the conversations in my DMs?
Yeah.
That can help inspire new content. It can help inspire programs, like different education. That is more helpful to me than anything.
Love that.
So I would much rather look at that than like the reach. Now, that said, analytics can certainly be a helpful tool.
Right.
I keep an eye on plays.
Okay.
So if you're looking on your feed at the Reels tab where it lists all of them out, there will be a number in like the lower left or right-hand corner. That's the number of times it's been played.
Okay.
That's something that I kind of keep an eye on, because if one starts to climb, it's just something that I like to know. Like, okay, I'm going to create more content like that.
I love that part of it. Like, kind of start doubling down on that stuff.
Exactly. And then the other thing that I find really interesting, which tends to increase as your plays increase, you have to get into your analytics for this, but it will have a pie chart, I think is what it is.
Okay. Yep.
Of the people who watched this who are followers versus non-followers.
Yes.
And as that non-followers grows, that's kind of what you want, because that means that your content is doing so well that it's playing it on people's Discover feeds. People are sending it to each other.
Okay.
And you're probably going, it probably depends on the type of content, but it will probably result in like an increase in your following, because more people are seeing it and learning about you.
Yeah. Excellent. I love that. This is so good. Do you have a meeting at 1:00 that you have to be at or something? Okay. Well, we might might just go over. It's 12:51. We might just go over, but I want to get to some of this chat here.
Yeah.
Heather says, this is so helpful.
Oh, Heather made it. Yay. Great.
Thank you, Heather, for jumping in there. Courtney, how do I find that script editor you mentioned?
So it's called Descript, DE script. And I have an affiliate for Descript.
Yeah,
so we're
love
just
it.
repping
Love
all
it.
the affiliates.
Yes.
Courtney, you can send me a DM and I'll send it to you.
Love that. Okay. Randy, I think Riverside does this too.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Riverside is Riverside FM is a great program.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Yay.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Oh man, I feel like we covered a lot, right? On Instagram.
I feel like we have. Yeah. It's been great.
There's so much more that we could probably talk about.
Always.
But yeah. So this is the moment we've been waiting for, Maddie.
Okay.
Yeah. The moment we've been waiting for. This is your one thing. Like if people are watching, they don't get anything else from this conversation. What's one thing that you want them to take away?
And this is something I remind myself of so often, not just in Instagram and Reels and video, but in life and in business. In order to have a best version, you have to have a first version.
Yeah.
So your first video, your first Instagram story is going to suck.
Yep.
Your first reel is going to suck. And it has to.
Yeah.
If it does, and I did not, I heard this somewhere.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't suck, you waited too long.
Oh, interesting.
It should suck.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I am guilty of that. I am so guilty of not starting right away because it's going to suck. I'm not going to be good at it right away. But this is something where your confidence is going to grow as you practice. Your skills are going to grow as you practice. You can't skip the practice.
Yeah. I love that. And like improving as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe from your first video to your second video, there's something in there that you noticed.
Yeah.
Like,
and really treating it as a playground. Like, this isn't life or death.
Yeah,
this is not brain surgery.
Have fun with it.
You should be having fun with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. Courtney says, go over time. She wants us to go over time. Love it, Courtney. This has been a great chat today. Heather,
this is awesome.
In order to have a best version, you have to have your first version.
Tattoo it on your arm.
You know, I use I use this show as an example for that, actually. Like my first episode with Luke Linus, and he did great on this. But from my perspective, like in the structure that I had in place, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Like he did great. Don't get me wrong. Like he did amazing. But I was like, I need to have more structure to this. And so my biggest improvement came from that first episode to the second episode, just in like structure wise. It's like, okay, now I know this is what needs to happen during this. And then I've been trying to improve one thing every episode. So I think we're 7. I think you're the 7th episode or something.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to improve one thing throughout every episode. So
yeah.
I think that is just a constant thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I love that.
I think another important thing to remember with Instagram is that the purpose is not sales.
Yes.
And it's not views and it's not likes. Like that's not the purpose.
Yeah.
The purpose is connection.
Yeah.
And the result of that connection is often sales and growth and like all these really great things. But so many people look to Instagram as like a quick cash grab. And it will never be that. Like you have to pay your dues. You have to put in the time. And that can look like a million different ways. It doesn't have to look like social media burnout. But if we start reframing success as connection and success as like genuine conversations on that app, your business will grow. It just will.
Yeah, I love that. Well, this has been amazing, Maddie. Thanks
for having me.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that you were on the show and that we were able to have this conversation about Instagram. And honestly, you're an inspiration. So I'm gonna like keep modeling things after what you're doing because it's amazing. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you everyone for jumping in the chat. I just have a couple of things. Maddie, I'm going to take you off camera right now and you can, take a big gulp of that water. Yep. There you go. Now, one of the things that I just want to bring up real quick is that I'm actually moving this show to a different Facebook page. It'll be the Video Lab Sioux Falls Facebook page. I actually rebranded my business from Hoover Heights Media to the Video Lab. And so I rebranded that Facebook page. I'm going to be moving that over there. However, throughout the rest of the fall, I am going to have the live on both Facebook pages. So the main move will be in the spring. And this is the remaining schedule that we have coming up for the fall schedule before, Christmas hits and holidays and all that. So next week, Justin Point from Cannonball Digital. And we're actually in a Cannonball Digital space right now. The Video Lab studio is, shares a space with Cannonball Digital. And we're going to be talking specifically about vertical video. This is so weird how this overlays my face like this. So it's just my picture and then a talking head in the background. So Justin Point, vertical video next week. And then we have Troy on, and we're going to be talking about just providing value through your video content and what that looks like and how that can help your business grow, just providing value. Great value, high value. Then we have Nate Pepple on, Earth Tones Podcast Productions, and he is going to be talking about, he's actually in Arizona, so he'll be remote, but we're going to be talking about how like video podcasts can really benefit and help grow your business as well. And I have heard that, I've heard this from several people, that every business should be doing some type of podcast. December 11th, we have Stephen from D2 Worldwide, and this is going to be interesting. We're going to be talking about AI, the AI takeover, and can AI really help your video marketing? And like I said, I'm going to have a workshop coming up soon about my AI workflow that you're going to want to stay tuned for. So check that out. This has been so good. Thank you, Breaks, for sponsoring the guest intro and providing coffee for us to drink during this show. And thank you all for jumping into the chat. Maddie, again, thank you for being on the stream. This is a fun time. I loved it. And we will see you next week talking about vertical video.